Welcome to the Scary Spirits Podcast. Please be advised that the presenters may use adult language and or discuss adult situations. This podcast is not intended for younger listeners or those that may be easily offended. So, if you're ready, let's go.
Hello, boys and girls. I'm Greg.
Hi, I'm Karen.
And welcome to Scary Spirits Reviews, where we review a film which is usually currently in theaters as we speak.
And it actually is.
It is, Karen. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you, Greg?
I'm good, Karen. It was a wonderful day.
Oh, would you like to share with the class, or
I changed from one set of pajamas into another set of pajamas.
Oh,
and we're in the middle of a
during the day.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
I was like, all right. So you woke up and got into pajamas is what you're saying.
That's what I did.
Okay.
Yes.
Awesome.
Woke up, showered, got into pajamas.
Well, how many inches of snow is there? It started down there, right? Because we haven't gotten anything.
Really?
Mm-mm.
I took the garbage out a couple hours ago and we had 2.5 at that time.
It's not supposed to start until midnight here. We're not going to get near as much as you.
Yeah, we have lots of snow, Karen. It's a snowpocalypse. And my gift of wife sent me to the store this morning.
I might wonder about that.
I found 2 of the items she wanted. So there you go.
Out of how many?
3.
Oh, well, that's not
4.
bad.
4.
Was it crazy? Is there no
It was
milk
crazy,
fritters?
Karen. I told her I'm going to go get beer because you got to have beer.
I'm surprised you don't already have a stockpile. That's crazy talk.
Well, I got plenty of alcohol, but not a lot of beer. Seems to evaporate quickly, Karen. But she's like, oh, can you get this? And she's let me make a list. I'm like, oh. But it wasn't that bad. It was, and that was like this morning. And yeah, I was sliding and slipping then. And it had just started snowing when I left.
When I was in, I think I might have told you this story, but when I was a postdoc in Baltimore, it was the first winter there. And I was used to, in Cincinnati, back in the day, before they had all this Doppler radar and all this stuff, they would tell you it was going to snow and it wouldn't snow, like it was just a thing. So I go to Baltimore and they're like, we're going to get, 8 to 12, 20 inches. And I'm like, it's not going to happen. It totally happened. So, you know how you have those fences, the wire fencing, it's about 3 foot tall. It was the snow was so high that the kids were sitting on the fence and just falling backwards into it. But I walked to the grocery store, in the snow, and there was nothing left in the grocery store. There was nothing left. And I wasn't prepared because I didn't think it was going to snow. So I bought, I forget, a 2 liter, a 2 liter of Pepsi and the biggest bag of French fries I've ever seen in my life. And that's what I went home with. And that's what I ate for like the 3 days that we were snowed in. It was funny. French fries. I mean, I was fine, but there was nothing. I'd never seen anything like it. Everything was gone. I was not prepared.
All right, Karen, what film are we talking about this week?
Well, we both had the honor of seeing the new film in theaters now, Nosferatu.
We did.
You want to tell everyone how a review is different than the normal podcast?
Well, we're just going to talk about what we liked and didn't, and we're just spoiler free, boys and girls. No spoilers.
Yeah, we try to be
here.
Spoiler free.
So if you haven't seen it yet, we won't ruin it for you. Probably.
Hopefully.
But I am going to compare and contrast it to other Dracula films, obviously.
Oh, wow. I thought we were just telling what we liked and didn't like. You're getting all scientific.
You saw it in the theater, right?
Yes.
What time was your showing?
I'm not going to tell you. Well, I wanted to go before the snow got here. So mine was at like 10:45 a.m. I went this morning because I wanted to not be in the snow.
That's about the time
Originally,
I was leaving to go to the store, and I was wondering, I wonder if Karen is going to see this movie right now. Because it was, like I said, it was still slip. It was getting slick here where I am at that time.
our original forecast said it was supposed to start about 1. So I thought I'll make it.
Yeah. Ours was 11. How many
And there, I
people were in the theater with you, Karen?
was going to say there were probably 10,
Okay.
which isn't bad. I will tell you, I found an AMC pass, like a gift certificate from, I don't know how old this thing was. But I'm like, I'm going to go and see if I can use this. Right. And I walk up to the girl and she looked at it, she goes, wow, what's this? I said, yeah, I found it. And she goes, where'd you even find it? I said, obviously I've had it forever. It's been in a drawer. And the guy's like, you just get a voucher and, they ring that in and then she handed mine back. I said, I think you should take this because she had to do the voucher. So she's like, she was done with the voucher. She handed it back to me. I said, you need to take this. But anyway, so I had a voucher.
Wow. Look at you.
I know.
Fancy. Were you in the front row?
No, I was not.
Okay.
That's close to the front because I was trying not to sit right next to anyone or anything.
All right. So we went New Year's Day. It wasn't the first showing, but it was pretty early, and there was about 20 people in there. And we got there late. I walked in, and it was pitch black, Karen.
So you missed all the previews.
Yeah, we missed all the previews, but it was pitch black, and I'm like, I wonder how much of this film we've missed. And of course, my seats were in the very back row, and I couldn't even see if anyone was sitting there. So, but there was like 5 people on the aisle. So I had to oh, excuse me, sorry,
Excuse
it's very
me, pardon
dark.
me, excuse
Can't
me,
see
pardon
you.
me.
It was pitch black, but we did sit down and saw a little bit, and then the title came up. So I'm like, okay, cool. We're not that late. Let's start there. How did the film start? How much did I miss, you think?
I don't think you missed any.
Yeah.
Really.
It was dark, and we sat down, and what's her name? Johnny Depp's daughter was giving a soliloquy. How were the previews?
Pretty good.
Anything
28 years
interesting?
later.
Oh, okay.
Wolfman. There were
How
a lot
did that
of them.
look? How did the Wolfman look, Karen?
Pretty good special effects. I will say
Okay,
that.
we'll see. Many of my friends on social media are not
Impressed.
impressed.
They've seen it already?
No, but
Oh,
from what they have seen. I don't know why Universal can't get their shit together, Karen. But whatever. All right, Karen, tell us everything you enjoyed about the 2024 release, Nosferatu.
I loved it. It's got the gothic vibe. It's sort of romance. It's obviously vampires. It checks all the boxes for me. I think it was cast very, very well. I liked all of the characters. I didn't think anyone wasn't cast well. The whole film was beautiful. The sets were amazing. The costumes were amazing. It was just beautiful to watch it. There's one scene that took my breath away, and it's not a spoiler scene, so I can tell you what it was. But when he's walking through the woods, what's the main character's name? Jonathan, maybe? It's not Jonathan, is it?
No, because that's the
Because
original
that's
character.
the original character.
It would be Thomas.
Thomas
Hutter.
is walking towards the castle through the woods. The woods are silent, which you get, because the castle is there and you're thinking there's nothing in the woods because everybody's afraid of what's in the castle. Walking down the road and it's silent except for his footsteps, and he's walking towards the castle, and it's just gorgeous. And I thought, that's gorgeous. And then it gets even better when the carriage comes towards him and all you hear are the footprints of the horses, the feet pounding.
They're running. They're at a full gallop.
Yes, they're at a full, and they're gorgeous. The sound is gorgeous. Just the whole scene was, I can't stop thinking about how beautiful it was. That stayed with me. Anyway, so the visuals are beautiful. The music is really good. The special effects are good. There's some blood sucking scenes that really, the sound of them, I think, really got to me in a way that other vampire films don't do. They don't normally emphasize that. They make it very kind of romantic instead of realistic. And so that was a little jarring to have it so realistic, what the sound would be like if someone was doing that. I think that's, I don't know, pretty much all I mean, I didn't not like a lot about it. So I thought the acting was really good too. There's romance in it, really. And it was just all so beautiful. The sea work, the boat, the sea, everything was just so pretty and filmed with that kind of bluish tone where you felt the coolness and the grittiness and the starkness. And it really helped with the overall mood of the film, the way it was shot. Did you like it?
I did like it, Karen.
Were there specifics you can point out without spoiling things?
Who did anyone go with you to see this, or did you go by yourself? I'm just curious.
I went by myself, which,
Ooh, how
to
was
be
that,
fair,
Karen?
I enjoy.
Okay.
I don't mind going to the movies by myself.
Didn't have anyone to talk to, though, did you?
I squirmed.
Okay.
I squirmed in my lounge chair.
I really enjoyed it as well. I agree. It's very beautiful. The sound is great. I agree. It's a very faithful, for the most part, I think, retelling of Nosferatu, the original in 1922. I almost wanted to watch it again, the original, to compare it before we started recording, but I didn't get to. I also think it's probably the most faithful appearance of Bram Stoker's Dracula. So I pulled out my novel to look at the description of Dracula from Jonathan Harker's journal, Karen, not Thomas Hutter's, Jonathan Harker's journal, his description of Dracula. And this Nosferatu looks a lot like what is described as Dracula in the original source material. And I also kind of think it's interesting that they chose to redo Nosferatu, you know? Because today, if Nosferatu were to come out today, or at least before Dracula was in the public domain, I don't even know if it's in the public domain, but they would have been sued because
Yes.
it pretty much rips off Bram Stoker's Dracula. They changed the names, but it's pretty much the same story. And this one is a pretty faithful retelling, except for a couple things. I mean, mm, there's one thing maybe we'll get to later that I didn't like. So this film was written and directed by Robert Eggers. This is the second film I've seen by Robert Eggers. I've seen his first one that he ever did, and I've seen his most recent one, and I like them both. So his first one was The Witch, Karen. I believe you saw The Witch.
Yeah, it has the same feel.
It
I'm
does.
not
They're
surprised when you say that. Yeah.
they're both very dark. And when I mean dark, I'm not.
Well, you also mean dark. It's funny. At one point, I thought, I'm glad we didn't see this with my mom at the drive-in because there are a lot of I know what you're saying that it's dark, but the film is also physically dark.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
It's physically dark. Even the daylight shots, it's dark.
It has that tone. Yes.
And The Witch was the same way.
Yes.
And I like that.
And it's, even though the sets are complex, it's almost bare in its, like in the room. I don't know how, like The Witch was the same way, bare almost, even though there's a lot of things going on. It's somehow striking when just the characters really stand out.
Yeah, I thought the music was great. I bought in totally. Acting was great. What's his name? Bill. What's his name? Bill
Skarsgård.
Skarsgård. He was very good. And Lily Rose Depp as well. She was good too. I was kind of surprised. I'd never seen her in anything before, so I just assumed, well, she's a Depp. So, yeah, all right, so whatever. But she was very good. And Nicholas Hoult. Wasn't he in Renfield?
He was.
Okay, so there's lots of interesting tie-ins like that. Because Willem Dafoe's in it. He's very good. And he was also in Shadow of the Vampire we did. He
Mhm.
played Nosferatu in Shadow of the Vampire. And he's in this. So
Well, and I think isn't Skarsgård's brother was the vampire in True Blood, I think.
Well, I'll take your word for it. I don't know. And I haven't seen the Francis Ford Coppola, whatever, Dracula. From like when was that, Karen? The 80s, whatever.
Yeah, that one's pretty faithful to the book.
It is, but I haven't seen it in a while, but I still think this is a better depiction of the character, the vampire character,
As described in the
as
book.
described in the novel, in the source material, because, they're both using the source material, obviously. And I don't remember in the original Nosferatu, maybe because it was silent, knock being as important as he is in this one.
Is that the boss?
Yes, that is Thomas's boss. I didn't really remember him being the boss in the first one, but apparently he is. So I looked it up. But like I said, maybe because, it was silent, maybe he looked a lot different and when he was the boss in this than when he wasn't the boss. When he was in the prison or whatever, and maybe it was the same in the other, and I didn't even put two and two together that it's the same person. And everything is being manipulated by the vampire character. But yeah, I really liked it. It was really good. My wife did as well. I went with my wife because
It's over 2 hours and it didn't feel
it did
long.
not feel long at all. I actually set my timer on my watch for 2 hours when it started because I knew it was about 2 hours. And I looked once or twice, but I wasn't mad about how long it was. I was just curious, you know? I really enjoyed it. Did you get popcorn and a
I
soda?
did.
Yeah.
Even though it was early, I got popcorn.
We did as well. And my wife's like, what size you want to get? What size? I'm like, I don't care. Get whatever you want. And whatever you don't eat, I will finish. And that's exactly what happened.
I got a medium and didn't quite finish it, but I was
Well,
doing
she
all
did
right.
as well. So she ate most of it and I finished it. All right. Anything you did not like?
I it's weird to say, but I almost think it could have been longer in a way that I would have liked to know more about the reason there was a connection. What was her I mean, if you want to be kind of jaded, there's a bit of grooming. I mean, she's a very young child when he first meets her, shall we say? But
We
there's
probably can't go into it, but I have questions about that.
yeah, without doing a lot of spoilers, but I would have liked to have more either at the beginning of the film or as a reminiscing scene. She does tell a little bit. I wanted to know more. I also would have liked more. There's a couple of scenes with some gypsies, which I think could have been longer, could have explained a little more, had a little more importance, a little more information in them. So, can you say, well, I didn't like that there wasn't enough of the film? I wanted more information, and I think they could have put it in there pretty easily, but it would have been longer. And I realized it was already long to begin with.
But
So,
if you're performing, don't you always want to leave the audience wanting more?
sure, but I think I also understood a lot more of it because I know the story. And I wonder if I took, say, my kids or something, if they would have been a little more confused about what was happening. It's not
Well, shit, I was confused, Karen, about
a,
what
li-
they changed.
a little, but it's a little choppy, which is part of the effect. But I'm saying somewhat like I have seen the story, I have read story, I know enough about the story to piece the pieces together that might not be there if you don't know it, if that makes sense. So I think I was intrigued with her story, but I wanted to know more. Something happened in her childhood. Apparently, she's desperately lonely. Why? What's the situation there? That kind of thing. And as you mentioned, he is very true to the original story. And it's kind of a shock. I kept waiting for him to get a little more attractive the more he drank, because that's normally what happens. But he
So you're
stayed in
comparing it to the
the
Coppola
modern, well, or to,
or the modern, yeah, the
yeah, the modern
suave.
version
Yeah,
of
yeah,
it.
yeah.
And I get why he didn't. But again, he's quite hideous and Yet he had this relationship with this, so I don't know. I just, he's amazing. And he made himself, he's a monster. There's no question. I don't think there, like I said, just a little more information and a little bit longer with the gypsies. I can't really think of much, and that's stretching it. There isn't really anything I didn't like. I would have liked just more information at a lot of places along the way. Did you not like anything?
I didn't like that they had a previous relationship, even though she was really aware of it or not. Well, I mean, she became aware of it. I mean, she was aware of it when the film opens.
But she's older.
She is older, but she knows they have a prior relationship. There's this whole she uses the word changeling at one point,
She does.
and that sent me down a because we just did like the changeling not long ago, so that sent me, and I know what it is, so because you told
Right.
us, so it sent me down a whole nother thing, like thinking,
But that's
like, wait a
again
minute.
because the meaning. And there's another point where Willem Dafoe and his character starts talking to her that it's her nature that drew him, and she could have been a priestess in the temple of Isis. What does all that mean? Like, I want to.
Yeah,
They're
that is
they're
not
like
in the source material. And
no, but they're
I could
cracking
have
that.
done without it.
They're cracking that door, right? Either don't say it, because then I'm like, well, they're kind of blaming her. It's your nature
Yeah,
that drew him, and I was like, well, I didn't like that, blaming a child for whatever that is happening. But they crack the door on that, like she has some sort of, I keep using the same word, nature,
and it's
that
almost like she knows what she's destined to do, which is
I,
not in any of the other retellings that I know. Even the original Nosferatu. I mean, the end is very similar, but it's very different as well. The ending.
yes. And yes. And also, I should have said there are some amazing shadow homages to the
Oh
original,
my God, yeah, there are lots.
which are just
And I was
awesome.
like, I kept waiting for it. Come on, show this. Oh, there it is.
But it's
Yay!
it's it you can feel the build up to it. It's coming from the subtleness of what they do, and there's just a lot of shadow work in it. I should
And
have
I
put,
think they use
sorry,
it
that's
better.
amazing.
They do it better than the original, the shadow
Yes.
work stuff.
Yes.
It reminded me, all right, boys and girls, there's an Iron Maiden video for Aces High, which is about the rise of the Third Reich, and it has a video of from the 1940s showing a large like shadow of a monster engulfing Europe. So comparing that to the Nazis, right? Engulfing Europe. It reminded me of that. And I loved it
Well, yeah, but
because the
impressive.
shadow moves across the city,
Right.
and
But
I think you
just
see that in the preview, so I'm not giving anything away.
excellent shadow work that I forgot to mention in what I really liked. Just nice homages to the original throughout.
Yeah, so yeah, I guess what I didn't like is how it differed from the original, the extra story arc that she's, special or whatever.
Well, they just left it hanging. I don't think it really, they're trying to sort of answer why she was able to do all the things she could do, why why the whole ball started rolling. But I don't think they did the greatest job with that. It
No,
kind of
because there's
goes
this.
nowhere.
So the original, there's not a previous relationship, and I feel like Nosferatu is drawn to her once he sees the locket.
Yeah, but this was,
But in this one, there's already a previous relationship before that happens, which almost kind of makes more sense. So I don't know. I don't think that's in the original, right? Dracula, there's no a previous relationship between the two of them, right?
well, but he's drawn to, I can't remember, is it Lucy or the other? No,
Uh-huh.
Mina. He's drawn to
Mina.
Mina because she looks like his
That's
wife.
that's right.
So when he sees the picture,
True.
so
I
it's
remember
not a
now. Yes.
previous relationship, but it
No,
sort of is.
it's
It's
almost
a reincarnation
reincarnation
kind
kind
of
of
thing.
thing, kind of like the mummy with Miss
Yes.
Leone, the Hammer Mummy, boys and girls, the good one.
No, even the Brendan Fraser one has the
I haven't seen that.
reincarnation.
Does it have Valerie Leone?
No,
I didn't think so.
she would probably be in the mummy part at that point.
She probably would be. Well played, Karen. That's all I'd have that I didn't like, really.
I just think I would be interested to hear what someone who didn't know the story, if they could piece it all together. And I know that,
But I mean,
I told you that when we went to see
who doesn't
that,
know the story of Dracula?
well, believe it or not, I took my niece, my sister-in-law, and my son to the Dracula ballet, which has no words, just music and dancing. They had no idea what was going on. And I knew exactly what was going on because I knew the story. They did not know the story.
Original story.
Yeah, pretty much. And I took Louis to a play and he didn't know the story. It was a little different, but it was still Dracula. And my mom was the one who indoctrinated the grandkids into Dracula, not me. They don't listen to me. So I'm just curious, younger kids or people who don't know it, I think might be a little, if there's still a story there, it still would make sense, but I think it makes more sense if you have a background.
And
That's
it's
all.
rated R, right, Karen? Isn't it rated R?
Yeah.
I would think it probably would be.
Yeah, there's some good nudity in there.
There's some good nudity. Not a lot of gore or blood, really, to speak of. I
No,
mean,
just the sound effects was just
yeah.
that got me. I think that got me more than any of the gore or anything else. I'm interested if anyone has
Nudity in sexual situations, I would
Yes.
say.
if anyone else was a little freaked out
good.
by that.
And I find it interesting that like the bite marks aren't necessarily on the usual part of the body.
No.
They're someplace else. But I guess, that means they wouldn't die because they wouldn't bleed out, right, Karen? From a
I don't know how to
clinical-
say it without you're trying not to say anything, but I don't know how long are his fangs. Could he get to the organ beneath?
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true.
That's I think what it was symbolizing or going for at that point, but I don't know. You're kind of at the source material at that point.
And I don't even remember. Did we see him feed in the original Nosferatu at all? Or was it all kind of implied?
I don't know. There might have been rats. Maybe. I don't know. I don't remember. We should have watched it again. I think it was implied. I mean, he comes over on the ship and people are being thrown overboard in the original.
True.
So we know it's happening, but I don't think we see it.
There's got to be puncture marks, though, at some point, because that's how the doctor knows what it is.
Right.
All right. Are we ready to move on to our cocktail rating, Karen?
Do you want to say anything else about the two stories or anything? You've got all those books in front of you. You're looking very cerebral. Is there anything else you want to academically learn us?
I have one book in front of me, Karen.
Oh, I thought you.
One book. Well, I do have the Hammer Glamour book over here, but I don't think that applies to this.
I don't think so.
I only
either.
marked the page. I found the page where Dracula's description is described. And
Well, can you read it?
sure. So in Dracula, it's Jonathan Harker, but he arrives at the castle and he says, within, this is from his journal, Karen, the journal of Jonathan Harker. Within stood a tall old man, clean shaven, save for a long white mustache and clad in black from head to foot without a single speck of color about him anywhere. That's pretty much how he's described. But he is much more cheery in the source material. He's very much, welcome to my house. Come on in. How you doing?
I thought he was described as a monster.
No,
Maybe
not
it's
here.
enough.
He's described as an old man he says he motioned me in with his right hand with a courtly gesture, saying in excellent English, but with a strange intonation, welcome to my house. Enter freely and of your own free will! Exclamation point. Which is like, yeah, I can't make you enter. You have to enter on your own free will. But he's like a very good host in the original source material. It's like, come, have some food. You must be tired and hungry, blah, blah, blah. But he's an old man dressed in black from head to toe with a long white mustache.
I might look that somewhere in that book. I think it describes him as a monster. We're gonna look.
Well, it may as things get crazy as
Yeah,
he's there.
that's the beginning. As
That's
as
the
he
beginning.
starts to go
That's the
down the
first time
rabbit
he meets
hole,
them. Yeah.
it might get worse.
Yeah, I'm sure it does. Yeah, they have a lot more interaction in the novel and original source material than they do in either of the films, really. All right, are we ready to give our cocktail rating?
I think so. Do you have a review from the time? Are you going to read a review from the
No, I'm
time?
not going to
No.
read a review
Okay.
of the time. All right, Karen, what kind of cocktail rating do you want to give this film from 2024, last year?
It's at least a two. I think it's a two.
I agree, it's two. That means it only took us two cocktails to get through it, boys and girls.
That just means it's good. I think everyone should go see it. Support the theater. Go see it in the movie theater.
Yeah, especially if you have a mom and pop in your neighborhood.
Do those even exist anymore?
I don't know. I'm sure there are some here and there. I mean, we have one or two here where I live that are not necessarily corporate movie theaters.
Really good. It's really good.
I agree. It made me want to watch the original again, and it made me want to watch the 1980s Francis Ford Coppola Dracula again as well, just to compare them all. But like I said, I could do without the major changes. Didn't need it. Would have been fine without it.
No, and I would have liked more background. I think when I was watching it too, I would have liked a splash of color somewhere, either the blood or the something that really
You want some
punched it
hammer
out.
blood, do you? Want some bright
No, I
red
don't want
hammer
hammer
blood
blood, but
to contrast with the black and white and gray?
something that it just was stark. It was gorgeous, but it was stark. And every once in a while, it'd have been nice to just get some sort of punch of color. But, I'm not making the film. So, and
No.
I still loved it.
And
It's our,
afterwards, I looked up the plague too to see when that happened because I was like, compared to when Bram Stoker wrote the novel, because it has a lot of, it's like a plague spreading across the land, right? And the rats and all that.
was so awesome.
But
It's
the
a,
plague was way earlier than the novel was
well,
written.
there have
So
been multiple plagues too,
I'm talking about like the Black Death, the
yeah,
major plague.
but they knew what it was.
True.
And when a ship runs aground and thousands of rats come running off into the city, it's not good
Probably not.
when the ship has nobody left aboard.
My wife thought it was much better than the last voyage of the Demeter. I'll say that, which is kind of a not a retelling, but
An expansion
an
on just one
expansion
part
of
of
one
them. Yeah.
chapter of the original.
Which I always think is kind of cool when
Yeah.
people can do that. It's very creative. I like that kind of thing. When they pull someone or something out of a story that's rather minor or even major, like I like historical fiction. So
Hmm.
when they do that, I'm always intrigued by that because I feel like I'm learning something, but it's much more interesting way to present it.
All right, two cocktails. So I guess we could say that we highly recommend it. Is that fair to
I
say?
highly recommend it. Would you join me in highly
I
recommending
would
it?
join you in highly recommending it. I've actually told all my staff where I work, I bought them all movie gift cards and I gave it to them for Christmas and I said, go see Nosferatu.
That was before you even saw
Even
it.
before I saw it. I'm like, yeah, here's a gift card for a movie theater. Hopefully it's the beginning of a good night. It should buy you a couple of movie tickets and a popcorn. Go see Nosferatu. So I'll find out if any of them did.
I
And
wasn't
of
disappointed.
course they were like, what's that?
Yeah, I know. But
Never heard of that.
sometimes you get these are the types of films that we get really excited about, and they can just be so disappointing.
How can you not know? Maybe because we're old and we watch like TV with commercials.
They didn't grow up with my mom or your nature.
But they didn't know what it was. They didn't know it was a movie coming out now. It was all right, whatever. It was weird.
They have different things on their social media.
I suppose.
I see a lot of these things where people talk about books and they're overhyped, underhyped, appropriately hyped. This is underhyped. This is good, really good.
Well, for the average person, it probably is underhyped.
Yes. They didn't know what it was. They didn't know where it was
Yeah.
coming out. It's
I've known about this for maybe a year.
But it met your expectations. If it didn't meet your expectations,
did.
it would have been overhyped.
It did. It did meet my expectations.
So it's underhyped because
well, for me, it was hyped just right.
Well, but you're definitely the market. So
And
I would
not?
call it underhyped. Well, for people who just the fact that your coworkers didn't know what it was, had no idea when it was coming out, more people should have known about it.
True. It did well.
There's buzz. I've seen, people write about it, but I'm their market also. So I don't know how much is out there in other sectors.
So it's 100 million globally, apparently.
It's got some stiff competition out there too at the moment with Wicked, Mufasa, Gladiator 2, although I heard that wasn't good, but there's a lot of good movies out because it's the holiday season.
It's true. But I had read, I think somewhere, that it's done the best as a Christmas horror release ever. I believe. Somewhere. I saw that.
My cat just climbed on my lap, and I just want to tell everyone one thing I was very happy about in this movie. They didn't kill her cat. I saw the cat and I was like, oh no.
So it did better than expected. It had a $50 million budget, lots of positive reviews. So I think it did very well. Oh, it's Robert Eggers' highest grossing movie ever. I'm sure it'll still grow.
Well, after this, it's going to get a Scary Spirits podcast spike.
Well, for sure. All right. 2 cocktails, boys and girls. If you haven't seen it, go see it in the theater. Buy some popcorn. If they still have the cool Nosferatu caskets, get one of those too.
Yeah, I didn't see those.
I didn't either, but I think they have those at the Regal theaters or something. It's just like a chain specific or something. Our only choice was Moana 2 buckets. We went.
I didn't see anything.
You can get butter on your popcorn too.
Do not get butter on your popcorn.
You're
That's
just
the
like
worst.
my wife.
Ugh. My kids like butter. My youngest. I think he does it just to make me not eat his popcorn. It's getting suspicious at this point.
Could be a thing. Could be a thing. All right, so we give it 2 thumbs up and 2 cocktails, right, Karen?
Yes, and a strong please go see it.
Yes. If you've seen The Witch, I think you'll like it. I haven't seen his other films. This is like his 4th film. I haven't seen the other 2.
Live deliciously and go see the movie.
But I don't think his other 2 were horror films either. Yeah. Wouldst thou like to live deliciously? Go see Nosferatu. All right, anything else, Karen?
Please drink responsibly.
Yes.
Hey, it's Karen, and I'm here to talk to you about getting social with us. Did you know you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Scary Spirits Podcast? Or check out our website, scaryspirits.com. If you have something to say, email us at info@scaryspirits.com. And as always, thanks so much for listening. Please drink responsibly.